Well, hello everyone. This is Saturday, 1 week and a day after I lost my job of 14 years, and I promised that I was going to do a video explaining some of the wonderful blessings and experiences we've had even in these first few days, and share with you kind of what our new adventure and journey is going to be like. Um, Needless to say, a week ago Friday, when I had finished my daily duties and I had gone back into our office and I was going to get my things together and go home for the day, my general manager called me and said, "Larry, could you meet me in the office?" And I said, "Sure, not a problem." And that he had a lot of projects for me to do from time to time, and not unusual for him to call me into the office. So I went in and sat down, and when he called in our office manager, then all of a sudden I thought, "Oop, something must be up," because usually they don't have two managers in a meeting unless there's some problem. And of course, when they came in and shut the door, then I really knew something was up, and I couldn't quite figure out what was going on. And so the general manager sat down behind his desk and he said with a heavy heart uh, he was going to have to terminate me. And my heart just sunk from my chest down into my stomach. I just was shocked. And I had an idea of what it was all about, but I didn't think this was going to be the result. As it turns out, a week prior, we had made a mistake in uh, one of my responsibilities, and it's a responsibility shared with two or three other people. It's a check and balance on everything that we do to make sure that things are done right. Well, as it turns out, all of us missed the same thing, and I was the last one in the check and balance of all the arrangements, and I missed it too. I've done over the course of the years. I've been in this with this company for 14 years, and I've been in this present position for a long time. And I've done probably hundreds of arrangements, and this very action, this very responsibility, I've done perfectly up until this time. And he announced to me that because of the company policy of zero tolerance for making this kind of a mistake, he was going to have to let me go effective immediately. I was just stunned, and I didn't get upset. I was shocked, but in light of what happened, I wasn't surprised. Um, so I said, "Well, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, being 69, and uh, you know, don't know what the future holds for me." I just said, "I'll just have to take it a day at a time." And we said our goodbyes and shook hands on good terms, and I packed up my things and left after 14 years. My greatest concern at that point was how was Becky going to respond to this news. I I didn't know how she was going to respond, and I was very nervous all the way home thinking about how she would respond. And when I got into the house, as soon as I opened the door, she could tell that something was wrong. And she says, "What's wrong?" And I couldn't offer it to her any other way than it was, and I just said, "Well, I've been terminated." And she just said, "What?" And it was just like you could see uh, she got nervous, got hyperventilated, weak in the knees. She just shook, almost on the verge of tears, and just saying, "No, what happened? What?" And so we spent some time. We sat down, and I explained all the details to her, and once the initial shock was, same thing happened to her. You know, her heart just went from her chest into her stomach, and but after that initial shock, and when I told her that this incident, interestingly enough, probably would have never been discovered except that I discovered it myself, and I just felt like I had to report it. That is, um, I couldn't keep it covered up. I probably could have, if I was anybody else, you could have forgotten about it, ignored it, and it might have been found out later, or it may never have been found out until after long, I was long gone, maybe even from this earth. But I just had to be the one to report the mistake. And in reporting the mistake, I had to embrace the consequences. And Becky assured me that because I did the right thing, the Lord will take care of us. And I just felt at peace once that was expressed, because I felt that's true. If I would have tried to cover up a mistake like this, God would have not blessed. God would not have been uh, happy with us. So we were able to go to bed that night at peace with what had happened to us. Um, neither one slept well that night, especially me. I'm thinking my mind is going 1,000 miles an hour trying to figure out, what am I going to do and how is things going to work out. And, I found out that my medical coverage will go until the end of the month, and then it's gone. And we'll have to face the, what we're going to do then for our coverages. And God's, shared some wonderful things with us through Christian friends and through my dealings with even governmental agencies already, that we'll share later some of the opportunities that have been made available to us. So even that concern is kind of no longer a concern. Just to go back a sec, this job for 14 years has had its ups and downs, and there have been times when I really felt like I wanted to quit, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. We didn't make a lot of money at this job, but it was enough to meet our immediate needs, and we were content. The big benefit was the medical coverage, obviously, and I was afraid that if I were to quit because of other things that had happened or said or done, um, I don't know what I would do about that. I just, at this point in my life, both Becky and I are on medications, and those are very expensive nowadays. We both have to have exams, uh, and I was scared. Just to be honest with you, I was scared and afraid that if we were to walk away from this job, that we'd lose that, and I don't know what we would do. Well, bringing us back up to the present, uh, interestingly enough, I had even thought at one time that if God really wanted to move us out of this job, he'd have to get me fired. You know, that might have been what happened. Maybe he has something better for us, and has a greater destiny for us, a greater day that lies ahead. And if that's the only way he can get you to be moved out from your comfort zone, as believers, as ones who confess that our lives are in his hands, and we make our plans, but God directs our steps, we had to go with the flow. And like I said, that night my mind was going 1,000 miles an hour, and I slept a couple hours here and an hour there, and the rest of the time I was wondering, what's going to happen? What are we going to do? Well, the next day, Saturday, a week ago, at this time, we just kind of sat around the house and prayed, and I'm sure Becky's mind was traveling 1,000 miles an hour too.